Hey there, it's Nafissa Shireen from Living Forward. This is a hot button topic today, and I'm going to try to keep it quick, like under 10 or 12 minutes, because something very exciting is happening today. I am getting to go ride my horse for the very first time in my own arena. I have not been on a horse since September, so it's probably going to hurt too. You have to really stretch afterwards. Anyways, I wanted to come today with this topic because I've seen it in a couple of different forums, a couple of different posts about this, and I mean, not necessarily the same words, but the same message. So I thought, well, if I've seen it a couple times and it's coming up and I certainly have opinions about it, then it's time to speak about it. And I'm not going to disrespect somebody who has something on their own feed or their own group and put my comments there, but it's something I've been thinking about, and I realize if people are asking it, it's on people's minds. So I wanted to talk about this concept of over-investing versus stretching yourself. It's really, really a big difference between the two. And I do believe sometimes that in the name of stretching ourselves, sometimes entrepreneurs can over-invest. And that is a serious problem, because if you're over-investing, that means you are putting money towards things you don't need. It means you're putting money to invest in things that you don't know how you're going to recover it, right? Like, it's a pretty serious thing if you over-invest. And I think we've all been there, like, let's put up our hands. I've done that too. And that's usually when we make an investment just based on pure emotion. Now, I mean, everybody makes a buying or purchasing decision based on emotion, and they back it up with logic. Like, that's just how we are as people. But these type of things happen when there's no logic to even back it up. However, the opposite happens too, where we have an opportunity that comes up for us that's going to require us to stretch, to make an investment, to go forward, whether that's hiring a brand new team member, getting the mentoring that you need, putting new equipment in, getting a new location, investing in like systems and technology. There's all kinds of things that we need to invest in our business that sometimes feel really uncomfortable. And if it wasn't uncomfortable, that means we're not growing, because we don't grow by staying the same, right? So there is a difference here. Now, I mean, I tend to think like, I don't know, I don't like the word can't. So sometimes we think like, well, we can't do everything all at once. And that may have some truth to it in the aspect of, we need to focus. We need to really put our focus on what our top initiatives are, and then find the resources, put the attention, put our daily attention on that, and focus on what the next right thing is in our business. And so when we stretch, it's always because it's uncomfortable, but we shouldn't be afraid to stretch just because it's uncomfortable. We have to make sure that this isn't where I go with this when it's a stretch, is I try to take the emotion out of it, because in those moments when it's a stretch, there's conflicting emotions that are going on. There is like incredible fear, like huge fear, and then there's also the excitement and the possibility of what is. And when those two kind of clash, like, your head can kind of explode and you cannot be realistic. And so I like to take a step back and always look at an investment as to, is this going to move me forward? Is this putting me in the right direction of my business? Is this something that I'm willing to create the money to make happen? I did a full YouTube video on making strategic money decisions in your business. I will put the link to that below when I'm done here, because it was a bit longer, and I took you through a worksheet and how I actually make these decisions, and I make the tools available to you. You can just download them there. But the thing is, when you're making a decision to invest in your business, whether you have the cash in your bank or you have to borrow it, you should be using the same decision criteria. Because if you're taking the cash out of your bank, you're borrowing from yourself. If you're taking it from a line of credit or a credit card or going on a payment plan with your vendor, you're borrowing it from them. So either way, to make this investment, the money's got to come from somewhere. So you have to be committed to pay that back, even if it's just to yourself. And I tend to have a little bit of a different perspective on borrowed money than a lot of people do. Now, I know a lot of entrepreneurs will just go borrow, 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 and get themselves into a lot of trouble. They define themselves by debt, and it gets really crippling. And that's a very dangerous way to be or to operate your business. I've worked in a lot of companies, and every company I've worked in, they've either financed it through borrowed money or through capital investments. Of course, when you have capital investments, you lose ownership. So having a plan to grow your business sometimes means you got to stretch. And so the key thing here is like, if you're going to take that next step in your business and it feels uncomfortable and it feels like it's not something that is sitting really well, it's probably the right next step for you to do. And sometimes where I see the difference with people is like, they'll have an opportunity, but the difference between those who make what they want to make happen and those who don't, or those who really create what they want, is they don't make it about the money. They make it about the decision. Like, is this the right decision for my business? Now, I know sometimes taking that financial pressure off can feel really good. Like, I've been working with my mentor for years. He's been amazing and impactful in my life. And yet this year I did for a brief moment actually think about maybe not renewing for a little bit and maybe working with a different mentor. I'm coming totally clean here because obviously we've made a ton of investments here in this property and there's a ton more to make. And so when I look at this 6-figure investment, and to me in Canada, it's multiple 6-figure when you put the exchange rate on it, it's kind of like, well, that money would kind of pay for my bathroom renovation, right? Like there was this small thinking and hesitation to not do the right thing that I needed to do for my business because for a moment I went into fear and I shrunk back, right? And we can all do that. I mean, I snapped myself out of that really quickly because I thought, well, this is the wrong thing to do, because if I try to create this money for my bathroom renovation by clipping coupons, basically is what it would be, I'm taking myself out of the game for making money. So sometimes we have to stretch, and right in that crucial moment, right in that moment where it's like, oh, I'm just so resistant to investing the money in this, that's when you need to take a step back and go like, is this because I actually don't believe I can ever make this money? Is this because it's really not something I need? You've got to ask yourself those questions. And if it is what you need, and if it is going to help you going forward, then stretching is what is going to take you to that next level. Deciding and using the same criteria that has got you to where you are will never get you to where you want to go. You have to use different criteria. However, the most important thing I can tell you, and this is something that you need to commit to before you ever invest a dime in your business, and that is being committed to selling. Like, if your business doesn't have the money, it's got to come from somewhere. So it's either coming from your savings, or it might be coming from your built-up capital, or you're borrowing money. Either way, if it's something new and it's not an operating expense where it's every month the money comes in and you're paying all your expenses and you take your profit out, if it's not an operating expense and it's something new that's going to create a chunk in your business, right, out of your capital, or you've got to borrow money, then you need to be committed to creating that money through selling. Even if you have to temporarily borrow it, you have to be committed to selling. This is where I've seen so many entrepreneurs get into financial trouble, is they don't have the cash up front for their business. And so then they dive into their savings, they mortgage their house, they take every bit of credit that they have, and then they don't want to sell. Like, they're thinking, well, I've invested, shouldn't the clients come to me? No, you need to become the cause, the effect you want. You need to be out there being ready to sell. And you don't have to be great at it when you make these decisions. However, you want to make sure you're committed to becoming great at it, that you're committed to becoming the person that learns to love selling, because without that, you will never have the money to pay yourself back, pay the bank back, pay your creditors back. And that's not a fun way to live. If you're committed to selling, and you have a business plan and a sales plan and a marketing plan that will fill up your coffers, then there's no reason to not make the investment you need, especially if that investment is what's going to help you make it happen. I worked with, had a VIP day with a brand new client yesterday, and we talked about the same thing. Like, what was that plan? What was the marketing going forward? Because without that, there's no point in investing. But if you have the right thing for your business, and the only thing that's stopping you is because it feels a little uncomfortable to invest the money, or you feel resentful about that money going out, you got to ask yourself, what's the truth here? Am I just unwilling to sell? Because if you're willing to sell, and what you need is going to help you to sell or help you to create it, it should be a no-brainer. But like I said, if you're not willing to sell, don't invest. I mean, you shouldn't be in business if you're not willing to sell. I'm sorry, that's like really tough love, but this is a really crucial thing. And it's not like selling is this big mystery. Like I said, it's the only thing that moves cash. And so if you're committed to selling, then you won't be living in money fear. And if you take the action of selling every single week or every single day, eventually you're going to create the result of a sale. And so getting into that habit is how you start to generate cash flow and you come out of fear. And when you have these decisions that are facing you, then you can make them intelligently. And yeah, sometimes you're going to have to stretch. However, like I said, if you're not willing to sell, then anything's an overinvestment, even $10. So you know, you need to get that straight. But anyways, I just wanted to come on and talk about this because I saw this come up the other day, and I thought, you know, I think sometimes people kind of don't know the line between the two. Like I said, I'm going to put a link to that YouTube video below here that you can go watch, because it's about 45 minutes and I take you through a whole process on decision making. And also, I wanted to invite you. You've probably seen that I have been talking about a group VIP day that I'm hosting in Toronto for my mastery clients. And we do have a few spots left, and it is all about selling. It's going to teach you from the inside out how to show up and be effective in sales, how to have the confidence in sales, like the internal confidence. Forget the script. I mean, obviously we're going to talk about scripts, but we're going to teach you how to become somebody that actually feels good about selling in an authentic and integral way. Because once you have this mastered, you're like, that's what creates financial freedom. It's not your mutual funds, it's not your Freedom 55, it's not the money in the bank, because that can all be taken away. It's knowing how to sell. And so if this calls to you, then I'd love to invite you to join us. I will put a link to that below as well. It is by application only because it is a very small group. And so we are being very particular. Like, I'm not attached to filling that room. I just want to make sure that the people who are in there are the right people. And so we will give you that opportunity, and you can just let me know. We can have a conversation and see if it's a good fit for both of us. And if it is, I'd love to have you there. It's going to be a great 2 days. We're going to dive into everything. Like, we're going to unpack your mindset, your fears, your feelings, your beliefs. We may even do some belief transformation in the room as well. And we're going to give you all the tools you need to be able to bring this to your business, and so that you can start putting those plans forward to start actually creating the money that you really, really want. And that you never have to make a decision based on a lack of money, whether that's an investment in your business or whether that is something you want for yourself, like a holiday, a vacation, a new home, new clothes, new purse. Those type of decisions, they're yours to make when you're committed to being the person who sells. So I'm going to sign off for now. I have to go tack up my horse, and I'm going to enjoy my very first ride on him in my own arena today. It's a big celebration. I think there'll be champagne tonight. After the ride, of course, because, you know, drinking and horsing just don't mix. All right, see you later. Bye.